Welcome back to Season 5 of CX in the Wild, where we capture conversations with the leading voices of customer experience from around the world.
Tell me who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Lelen Udayan, proudly born and bred in South Africa. Work for a company called Mukuru. I'm the head of customer experience.
Wow. Tell me about that business. How big is it? What is the geographic reach, that sort of thing? How many customers do you serve?
Yeah, so we serve about 11 million customers across predominantly Africa, but also Europe, Asia, and hopefully the Americas quite soon.
Wow, so expanding to the Americas. That's impressive. So here's what I know about Africans. And I try to say this all the time. People in the rest of the world don't. Customer challenges in the rest of the world are so much different compared to customer challenges in Africa, because Africans are probably they're acutely discerning about every cent that they spend. It's not like there's, in no offense, but I haven't heard anybody in Africa talk about their disposable income.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just say in Africa, your customers have indisposable income. And that creates a kind of climate where innovation has to happen. And in your sector, there is a lot of, you could call it innovation, or you could even call it almost like circumventing experiences. Can you help me have better words to understand or explain that scenario in Africa?
Yeah, so I think our drive for innovation or circumventing experience stems from understanding who our customers actually are. And to your point, a lot of the things that are published are about first world problems and navigating those. Whereas if we look at our customer base, which is majority the most underserved populace on the continent or even the world, our innovation is to get them to some level of service or inclusion. So in our case, financial inclusion. But with that stems other offshoots in terms of our product offering based on who those customers are and the struggles that they meet either in their home countries or the countries that they migrate to. A great example very recently is the inclusion in e-commerce or online shopping. Traditionally, you'd need a bank card, some sort of payment wallet, Apple Pay, etc. And there was not much for the cash customer unless there was cash on delivery, which in itself is a risk, especially with bigger ticket items. So to hold cash to pay for on delivery is a risk both for the delivery person as well for the customer, given their circumstances. So one thing that we've now developed is allows you to shop online but pay cash at a retailer or a payment partner. A domestic worker, for example, now has the ability to go and shop online and select a payment method, generate a code, and then simply go and pay for that code. Payment's immediate, the delivery gets signaled, and now you've sort of expanded this community of people who are able to shop online.
Wow. It's so interesting to think about not being able to shop online as an American.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's delivery infrastructure here is not fully mature yet.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with a lot of these factors that when we as first world CXers think of omnichannel, we're like, yeah, e-commerce, delivery, websites, social media integration, email, all of these things they're almost like demands on us as CXers. How do you prioritize the different channels, or how do you even think about surrounding your customers?
So in an ideal world, we'd have not only for the customer, but ourselves, the most profitable journey would be a fully online journey. But that's not the case. So we hand to heart try and meet our customers where they are. We understand the limitations. So while mobile penetration, for example, is huge in Africa, the type of mobile penetration differs greatly, especially amongst different countries. So internet connectivity, accessibility to smartphones versus feature phones. A lot of our base still transact on basic lo-fi USSD code, so short code. And those customers we can only get to via phone calls or via SMS communications. Versus those that are more digitally advanced who might use WhatsApp transactionally and we're able to serve them with richer content, and we have better tracking, etc. And then we have our customer app. So we try and play wherever our customer base wants to play. So now that we've opened up the UK, for example, into Africa, so migrants who have moved over to the UK or to Europe and want to send money back home, for example, access to the internet in the UK is it's a daily way of life, I guess. So a customer app for them, serving them with richer content via email, etc. So their strategy plays there. So I think the important thing for us has been trying as much as possible to understand who our customers are, where they are, and developing the personas for that, and then catering our communications and our platforms to them in that way. And
Dennis, when you have a minute, can I come just talk to you?
yeah, and then trying to migrate them. So taking them on a journey. So as well as taking them on a journey of financial inclusion and financial literacy, taking them on a journey of platforms. So we want the person who's using USSD to be comfortable using WhatsApp, to be comfortable using an app, and have safety and security in using an app and online platforms, because it opens them up to so much more of the world and such richer experiences. So we try and as much as we want to digitize the base from a pay-in and a payments platform, we try and digitize their experience with financial literacy, because we'd love everyone to be banked and have access to banking and the benefits that come with it.
Yeah. And on one hand, I would say, great. I mean, every brand wants to give more customers their stuff. But you're a little bit adjacent to that commercial only thing, because your financial transactions are integral to the lives of human beings. And not that everyone's aren't, but you're in an environment where not being able to send, not being able to send $50 could literally be the make or break thing for an entire family, right?
100%. And I think that's what matters most to us. So if you speak to our customers or you interview our customers and you find out why they're sending or who they're sending to, I'm sending to my parents so they can pay rent. I'm sending to my mom. So a lot of migrants come here without their families. So I'm sending to my mom so she can go and buy food to feed my kids. So she can pay school fees, so she can buy clothes. That sense of community in Africa is still huge. So some people are sending things that are not even for their own families, but families in a village somewhere in Zimbabwe. So the village can have something. Even when they send groceries, etc., it's for more than just them. And we're not sending, or not necessarily sending, finances for luxury items. We're sending it for basic human needs: food, rent, lighting, clothing.
Yeah, 100%. One of the things that's been crossing my mind, quite honestly, personal. First of all, I went to Guguletu. And are you familiar with that place?
Yeah.
I realized I wouldn't say friends necessarily. However, I think as what people would not understand outside this market is, for me to even know someone in Googleetu is sort of unprecedented.
Yeah.
And so I would say that they welcomed me into their homes and they shared with me, and that is not a common thing. So I would consider that an act of kindness on their part, a gesture. The honest fact of the matter is I shouldn't be welcome there, but I am. But so for that, I feel endeared, or I've built a special relationship. And I think about these people that I met, and I'm seriously considering that anytime I go to Starbucks in the United States to get a $10 coffee or whatever, I'm considering, and I might want to talk to you about this, if there was a button I could send that just as I got to that drive-through, instead of getting that coffee, I could just hit send and send that $10. Because a person in Googleetu who gets the equivalent of 10 US dollars, that is like that day, that week could be monumentally changing for them. That could make an entire difference for not just the person I send it to, but to your point, the mother, the child, it's like 10 US dollars would go so far that the high I'd get from the caffeine would be minuscule compared to the vibrancy in my heart of just knowing I made that choice. That's the kind of thing that you're capturing for the world. Is that right?
100%.
Let's do that case study together.
Okay, sounds great. I mean, your $10 coffee is the equivalent of maybe 20 loaves of bread, or 10 loaves of bread, sorry.
Lelen, let's walk CX in the Wild South, because it's going to get real loud here. And we can keep talking. It'll be just fine. And what's nice is we can duck into a room that's going to be empty now.
Sounds good.
So, so 10 loaves of bread.
Yeah, so $10, about 200 rand. So about 10 loaves of bread, which I mean, that's more than food for a week, right? Every time you feel like having a coffee.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, so I think
we'll go in here until someone kicks us out.
And I think it's what we.
And is that something you and I can set up? Because that's the kind of thing I would love to. And I am going to steal some of this food just because I'm starving. Although it's all sugar, I just need something that's not sugar. All right.
Yeah, I think because we try and dive deep into who our customers are and what their motivations are and their motivators. So this idea of making a better life for yourself back home. So a lot of our customers, for example, who are in South Africa, are sending money back home for building projects. They're trying to build their own house back home in Malawi or in their village, etc. So they come here to try and, they call them projects, some of them essentially building projects. And they come here and try and make as much as possible in order to make a better life back home. So understanding those needs and understanding what they do with their income, how they use their income, makes a difference to us, and it's how we've tried to sort of structure our business.
So you have 11 million customers.
Yeah.
At various stages of financial, digital literacy, and inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
What do all 11 million of your customers have in common besides they're in Africa and they have to send money?
Hopes, dreams, and it's understanding those, like, it's this thread that ties our customers together. So what you've described when going to Googleetu, that spirit of Ubuntu, that spirit of belonging, it's a real thing.
So before we go on, I would put to contextualize it for the audience, because I could say whatever I want to about Googleetu, but how would you describe Googleetu to my audience so that they would understand, what it means for me to visit this city or this place.
Well, Gugulet is an informal township in the Western Cape, in Cape Town. It's a legacy of spatial planning that was done by the apartheid government. So it's far away from anything pretty, in quotation marks, in Cape Town, though, I mean, you'd still have views of the mountain, etc. But, if you have to look on a map of how far Guguletu is from Cape Town, and you look at the informal settlement and the state of some of the living conditions that people have there, it shows you that it's chalk and cheese compared to the Cape Town that maybe some of your audience would be used to seeing on the internet or in videos or tourist videos about South Africa. But in that struggle, there's a sense of togetherness.
That's right.
The community know that they're in this together. They're part of the thing that the spatial planning inadvertently has resulted in South Africa from the apartheid days is a sense of community. In more informal sectors versus the suburbs. So you could have suburbs where you'd never know your neighbor. Your children would never know who your neighbors were because you've got these high walls and you stay in these closed estates and in suburbs. Whereas in an informal township or a less formal township, everyone knows who your kids are.
Yeah. And there is a real high sense of community, because the other thing I would try to share with, I just can't put into perspective is the safety concerns for certain people to go to certain places in Africa. And, when I told some people I was going, they were extremely worried about my safety.
And I think rightfully so. There are ways to negate that. For the most part, communities will take care of you.
Yeah.
I know there are Uber drivers who won't drive into Guguletu or Kailicha at night for fear of being robbed, which is true. A good saying is nothing good happens past midnight.
I believe that in the US too. Yeah. My wife and I said the same thing.
Yeah. So the same there. If you go into Guguletu carrying wads of cash, you've got tons of jewelry on or whatever. These are people, for the most part, who have nothing. They have no stable income. Kids have had to drop out of school or have dropped out of school. There's certain areas in Guguletu that have gang-related problems. If you make yourself a target, you will be a target. For the most part, though, communities tend to take care of each other, which is why I think you were welcomed into homes, which is why people were. I think South Africa, we're known for being friendly, and it might be the weather because we have some of the best in the world. But I think that just comes through in our South African personality. We're open to different cultures and meeting new people.
I think that's true, but I also think that where I think I'm going with this is you in your work, you're community minded, but not for a district. You're community minded for a country and a community of people. And I think that is something you and I share. And so when I went to this other community, I think that you can see it immediately. I think when I went, it was clear that my intention was to be part of the community, not to visit, not to see something, not to take from it or exploit it, but I was there and I think that to your point, that sense of community is so strong in Africa. It's very inspiring. But and taking this conversation back to CX and community building, empathy, all great qualities to have, not so easy to build.
100%.
So what does the future look like for you in terms of 2024? How do you expand your 11 million person community at the same time that you're elevating and including them in the advancements of financial transactions?
Well, I think for us, what is going to become key is formalizing our customer experience strategy. So we've done it really well in bits and pieces, but haven't had a formal structure or ethos of customer experience within the business. And using your playbook, actually, we're going to, or our plan is to roll this out throughout the business. First with...
This one is in hopeful growth that needs to come around 12 now. Should be in
Thank you. Okay, thank you. This is why we call it CX in the wild.
Yeah.
Leave no trace. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
We'll go in this corner over here.
Yeah.
So I love that you plugged my playbook. You know, I hope it is useful. I think what's important about that is, you know, we'll just stand here. Is we have to share and come together to build these things. So, you know, I think, but so you're gonna use some of the things that you're learning from other people and infuse that into your practice in 2024. And do you have a key? What's your number one objective? Like here's how I like to pitch this on the podcast. If there was someone listening from who appreciated this mission of yours to just facilitate transactions to help 11 million people who are deserving and fighting every day for the chance to have some CX improvement in their world. If somebody was listening and they were like, oh, I can help Lelen. What is this mission you have for 2024 that people, if they by chance listened, could find you and say, hey, bro, I got this. I can throw this love at you.
Ooh, it's a bit of a tough one. We've got lots of KPIs, I guess. But in terms of goals, for business goal, I'd like to be the most efficient method for the African migrant to remit.
And what do you need to do that? Is it APIs? Is it spaceship satellite transactions of Bitcoin? I mean, I don't know. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, what do you need from the world community to be?
I think it would be partnerships. We can't put up a branch or a booth in every location around the world. So those partnerships with banks, with mobile wallets, with other payment services in other countries is key to unlocking this theory of financial inclusion. And be it in Africa or further beyond.
Have you talked to some of the conversational commerce companies here, the WhatsAppers who are doing transactions?
So one of our business partners is actually here, and we use them as our transactional platform, and they support us with WhatsApp. We've got partnerships with retailers.
What other kind of partnerships do you need?
Retailers.
Tell me what a retailer partner looks like.
So, one of the biggest retail groups in South Africa, for example, because they've got locations in numerous places, they become a pay-in point for us. So our customers can go pay for their remittance orders.
What is the name of that group?
ShopRite, the ShopRite group. We've got others though as well. Pep
I think I just talked to the head of CX for ShopRite this morning.
Yeah. This year.
Did you talk to her?
Yeah. So we've got an existing partnership. I'm saying we need more
like
of those.
that.
Yeah. So we need more of those.
Like if you had
they're not in every country.
So if you had like Woolworths or like even like a McDonald's or like something 100%. Like that.
So if you had those types of businesses in other places across the world that were interested in
multi-unit locations that can help. And what does it look like if somebody partners with you? Let's say I'm thinking myself of a retailer in the US, and I was to go to them and say, listen, do it because it's a good cause. Let's just throw all the KPIs and customer experience mumbo jumbo out of the window, the jargon, and cut right to empathy and the human condition at scale. let's try a pilot. What happens? They say, all right, we're going to put this in a location. Is it like an ATM machine, or is it?
It could be their card machines. It could be we could link it to their POS or something similar, where we put our sort of system in. Essentially, what it's doing is generating a code, a payment code.
So do I need hardware to
Easy
do this?
Easy Pay? No. So we could run it on somebody's machine. I mean, it could just be a link to our software.
So let me ask you this, just to clarify.
Yeah.
If a retailer had a POS, or let's just say they had an extra iPad or something, and they put it in there and just said, "This is if somebody wants to send money to Africa."
Yeah.
Is it that simple? I don't want to make it too simple, but
not as simple, but similar. So I mean, we'd partner. There'd be a link into our transactional system, obviously for recon purposes, etc., and also because we have to pay that retailer something. So out of every order that sort of comes out of your space, you need a little slice that we need to pay you, right? And that's your incentive for being involved here and us using your footprint. So you've got hundreds of stores across the States. It's all of a sudden open to each of them. So every migrant can send wherever, to the UK, send to Europe, send to Africa, at any one of your locations.
And you already have 11 million people doing this, using this system.
Yeah.
So the reason I qualify that is there are a lot of people who want to get in on this transaction game.
Yes.
But it's not, I mean, I myself would not get involved with somebody who has like 1,000 transactors. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. I think so. To summarize our conversation today, your human interest is facilitating transactions for Africans, and the benefit is the wider expanse to families, relatives, interested parties around the globe.
Yeah.
The impact of that from a socioeconomic perspective, frankly, honestly, can't even be quantified in a podcast. There's like, you either get it or you don't.
Yeah.
And if you could find any interested retailers who wanted to find out more and just participate in this on some level, any level, you would at least get the learnings from it. And while that's happening for the growth of your business, you are taking this time internally to become more customer centric by I think what I heard you say is you're implementing some programs that foster customer-centric culture in unique teams, but in a similar fashion so that this common ethos becomes a unifier of teamwork. You're essentially using CX as a way to just enhance teamwork and the employee experience.
Yeah. 100%. I think a way to sort of put it in a nutshell, we all want to be customer centric. And we all talk about customer centricity, but it's not necessarily that anything that's owned by anyone. So everyone owns it, but with that being said, there's no formal drive towards centricity. And I think our goal is for someone or some team to own customer centricity in our business as a strategy.
Awesome, Lelen. I appreciate you. I know you're a little apprehensive, but I like getting people in the real conversations. Here's the thing, bro. You were like, I don't know if I want to do this podcast. I don't want to talk to people who are running up to me and saying, get me on your podcast. I prefer to have these genuine conversations. Thank you for being on the podcast. The question I always ask everybody at the end, these are not always, but have the last 10, is if you had one thing to say to the world. So I want you to tell me your name again, and if you had one thing to say to the world, what would it be?
Lelen Udayan, look at Africa.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to CX in the Wild. If you'd like to be on the show, connect with us through the link in the description or DM Dennis on LinkedIn.